And welcome to Soggy Popcorn, episode 19.
Welcome.
Here with me is Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Hi.
Wow.
As per usual.
Still
So
just the two of us, the lonely two of us.
we were maybe thinking of having someone else and they didn't want to do it.
No one wants to do it. No one wants to join in as a guest. Not even any of our mates who want to listen but don't want to participate.
They're like, we
So,
don't be
for
on
now,
it.
just the two of us. But
Yeah,
it's all right.
it's
It's the
all
way we
right, I
like it.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the two of us. So on this episode, we're going to be not only going over the films that we saw, but we'll also be talking about Leonardo DiCaprio's top roles. Should we do that now, or should we go into what we saw? I can never remember which way around to do it.
We could do it now and then, or should we talk about Revenant first and then into it? Well, let's do yeah, let's do
Yeah,
Revenant and then talk
let's do
about him.
Revenant first.
It's like we've basically decided he's won the Oscar and then just
Yeah,
go
it's true.
straight into it, just like a rundown of his finest work, or like he's died. We're just gonna go through the
May we remember him for these roles.
yeah, exactly. Oh, well.
So yeah, because I was saying I touched upon it a little bit in the last episode, but yeah, you've seen it since, and we haven't spoken about it yet, really. So
No, we haven't.
yeah, hit me. What do you think?
I thought it was impressive, man. I thought it was very impressive. I was pretty blown away by it visually. It's funny, really. As soon as it finished, I was like, that was amazing, just because it's such a spectacular thing to look at. And then afterwards, I was like discussing with other people and thinking, yeah, okay, there are some holes in it, and there are some imperfections, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought that, yeah, visually it was pretty amazing. Just some of the scenery and the shots that they captured, especially the beginning bit. So in a nutshell, it's basically like a platoon or group in the Civil War, isn't it?
Yeah,
Get ambushed by a bunch of Native Americans, and then that scene at the beginning, which is probably the first 10-15 minutes, is a bit of like a Saving Private Ryan, isn't it? When the camera is like
yeah,
moving around and sweeping around, and you see a lot of violence. It just goes from like death to death to death, doesn't it? So
yeah.
this small group of about 40 guys is ambushed by these Native Americans, and most of them are brutally murdered, which only leaves, I think, 10 men left, and then it's up to them to try and get back to their base.
With all the
But
goods still to make it still worthwhile.
yeah, so they've lost all their, what is it, their pelt or whatever
Oh
it
shit!
is. Yeah, so they're kind of, I mean, they're not just soldiers, are they? They've gone out to collect pelt or fur or whatever it is to try and bring back and sell and trade. So each man, like, they're there for a reason, to make money as like merchants, right? Not just as soldiers. So yeah, and they kind of lose their goods, so they're having to find their way back or scavenge their way back, but at the same time as get something out of the expedition. But yeah, so they have to try and get back to the base, and then on the way, DiCaprio, he was with his son, who was half is mixed Native American. He goes off in a little wander on his own, and then gets attacked by a bear. Pretty viciously. So then the film after that is all about whether DiCaprio could make it back, can crawl his way back to the camp, and or get some sort of revenge for something that happens along the way, basically. But yeah, so the beginning bit I thought was amazing. That really caught me off guard, actually, the way it began, because I thought it was going to be a really slow build up. I
Yeah,
thought
it's
it was
straight
going to
in.
Man, really straight in. I thought it was just going to set the scene, and then you're going to get to know the characters, which is a bit of a criticism for me, that there wasn't much depth of the characters. But I thought they'd definitely set the scene more, especially with the scenery, and just gradually introduce you to this, this wildlife and this spectacular landscape. But yeah, it just goes straight in and ridiculously violent, but like rusty blade kind of violence and tomahawks to the scalp and all that, Dance with the Wolves kind of Native American tearing people's skin and ears off and stuff, which I really like. So that was a great opening. Then after that, it was just, yeah, I really liked it. I thought that it was, at times there was the struggle of DiCaprio, whether he's going to survive for one thing, whether he's going to take out his revenge. against a certain person, and if he's going to get back to camp. So this whole thing is this massive, ridiculous struggle of him overcoming these odds and somehow surviving the elements and the weather and like attacks from various people, and then animals and the everything, to eventually get back to base. But the way the way he shot it and the way they depicted this like ridiculous struggle, just like crawling through a cold, snowy mud most of the film to get to his end goal, I thought was really good. I thought it was really captivating. They did some dreamy sequences, which I wasn't too happy on, because I guess he, as you would if you're in freezing cold, covered in bear skins, trying to crawl your way back to civilization or back to people.
Is it weird that I saw his bearskin thing? I thought, God, that looks really comfy. I'd love to be.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, a lot of it does look. There's so much hair. So much hair in the film. There's just hair everywhere. Animal hair on people's heads and stuff. Like it just hair in mouths and mud in mouths and snow and blood in people's eyes and mouths, and it's just a dirty, raw, gritty, snowy, freezing cold film. But yeah, I really liked it, and I thought I liked the pace of it. The dreamy sequences caught me off guard a little bit. I wasn't so keen on them, but I think he was just, he's on the verge of dying the entire film, so he's having these weird moments of near death experiences and just visualizing all this crazy stuff. But overall, yeah, I thought it gripped me throughout, but mostly because of what I was looking at rather than what was being said or what was happening on screen. For me, it was more of a massive spectacle, of visually like a massive, just a treat to look at, really, whether or not it was all natural or there was CGI thrown in, because there had to be some, there's plenty of it. I really enjoyed it, actually. So it's got some flaws, but overall I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it as well. It's also one of those films that you do really have to see on cinema, just to get a sense of that epic landscape and stuff.
How else would you see it these days?
Yeah,
apart from cinema.
On your laptop. Yeah, so it's anywhere else. Yeah, it's good. It was good. I really liked it as well. I thought.
No, you go.
I was going to say, I thought DiCaprio was good. I really liked just the general story. It's just quite simple.
Very.
A lot of action for something that was actually quite slow. And it really felt like beat by beat, that you were like with him, just trying to fucking survive. And like Tom Hardy's character was okay. I mean, it was interesting, but not to really have to do much. The little British kid I thought was annoying, and the other ginger British kid I thought was annoying. Yeah,
I thought he was alright. Donald Gleeson. I thought he was okay, actually. I quite like. I mean, his character. Well, he was the captain of the platoon brigade, or I don't know what you call it in that situation, but he was like the captain of and he was supposed to be running the operation, wasn't he? But so he was, I guess, delegating out roles and saying, okay, if he had the money, so he's saying if two people stay here to look after DiCaprio's character, then I'll give you some money, so you can get $100 each, salvage a little bit of money that you lost already, and then make sure he survives, and then we'll go back and bring help or whatever. So yeah, that was as kind of developed as his character got, but at least there was something there. He was feeling guilty. Should he have left him? Should he have not? Should he go back and save him and stuff? But I thought he was okay, actually. I think it needed that character, something there, someone else to feel whether or not morally they were doing the right thing by leaving him, or should they have just saved themselves. But Hardy's character I wasn't so keen on. I thought actually his performance I wasn't that keen on, especially not going in knowing he's been nominated for supporting actor. I felt that it developed as it went along. I thought that at the beginning bit his character's just a hard done by guy who doesn't really give a shit about anybody else and wants to get through this expedition, get back, make some money, and if anyone gets in the way, then he'll happily step over them. But later on, his character got a little bit better. His performance got a bit more kind of dynamic. But at the beginning, it was just like, I'm a moody guy. Fuck you. I just want to get through this.
Well, that's what's weird. It's not like to take anything away from Tom Hardy's ability. But the reason why maybe I'd imagine going in thinking, okay, this is like an Oscar-nominated performance. It would be
Yeah,
weird because it's not to take away from him. It's that it's just not that much of a character. It's just like
yeah,
it's just in it at the beginning and the end, really, and like little smidgens of bits in the middle. But he's just got one sole drive, and okay, there's a bit of character history or whatever, like with his scalp and whatever. But
yeah, but not
he's
much.
just doing what I don't know, like it's just
Well,
a
that's
weird one to be.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think all the characters lacks any like motive really, in getting from A to B. Um, and I felt that looking back at it, the characters were quite shallow, really. Even DiCaprio's character, I didn't really buy him and his son's relationship. For one thing, I know it's a hard criticism, but they looked nothing like each other. And it's hard to find a half Native American kid who's going to look kind of like DiCaprio.
Yeah.
But that thing for me, I felt it had a bit of separation to it. But I didn't really buy their bond that much because it breezed over it so quickly in the beginning, and these characters are just almost dropped into a situation. And it's like, okay, survive, go. And there wasn't really enough. And not to say I want loads of flashbacks, and there were these dreamy flashbacks or stuff like that, but it would be nice to have a little bit more information about these characters to make you care whether or not they survive. But it's all very like fleeting at the beginning, right? Survive, attack, run away. Now what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is, in that sense, I think there is a bit of style over substance, that it does get a little bit carried away of how it looks rather than the motives of these characters and whether or not you care how they're going to develop. But yeah, so I'm surprised that Hardy. I mean, I am surprised he's got a nomination for that. He doesn't do a huge amount, but then DiCaprio barely says anything in the entire film, but it's just such a physical performance, which is why he's being nominated. So some people are just saying, oh, all he's doing is just like struggling, and why should someone get an Oscar just struggling through something? Because if an actor is chucked in a cold lake or chucked in a big pile of poo and they've got to crawl out of it, then they've kind of just got to do it. That's what they have to do. But I think there is more to it than that, and there's so much anguish and so much like pain in that performance. I think it's enough this year to get an Oscar, mostly because there isn't much competition. But I think the performance, DiCaprio's performance anyway itself, and how it looks, is enough to make it a very good film. But it does have its flaws, and I think the characterization is probably the main one, really.
Yeah, I mean, also it's annoying when people are like, "Oh, it's really difficult to film," or whatever. And it is a little bit like,
Yeah.
okay, that shouldn't.
Well, it's a
Like,
funny
I
one,
get
isn't
it.
it? Yeah, because there's criticisms that like these are how films used to be made, and it's true. You look at a film like this, and you look at a film like Lawrence of Arabia or something. They're doing nothing new, making scenery look incredible by you going on location and doing it the old-fashioned way. So yeah, that is how films were made. You used to make ridiculously massive sets in the middle of a desert if you had to, or you'd shoot everything on location, and like in Apocalypse Now, and send the director, the crew, and all the actors crazy, because they're living for months in a country they don't want to be in harsh environments, and struggling to get anything made. So these things have been made in the past, but that aside, and the whole debate of, oh, was it all natural lighting, and how has he done that, versus, oh, did he use CGI? And you can tell there's after effects. I don't want to say CGI in the animals, isn't there? But there's after effects. There's lens flares which are blatantly put in afterwards, a lot of them. There is green screen because there's times where he's jumping off the edge of a cliff, and like there's animals running around, and the bear, obviously. So there is a lot of post has gone into that film. There's a lot of like filtering and a lot of coloration and loads of stuff. But all that aside, it looks incredible. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you made it. If it looks incredible, it looks incredible. So why try and pick holes in it? Because some of those shots were just like unbelievable. They really were, not just because of the scenery, but because of the focus and the framing and everything about them. So that alone, I was just watching it, just thinking, man, this guy, this cinematographer who could get a third Oscar in a row.
Yeah.
I find it hard to take it away from him. I really do. There were like that towards the end, where there was like a dramatic scene at the end, and you remember the shot where there's like a valley in the background, and then the sun kind of comes out at the
Yeah, man.
Man, it just looks amazing. And those scenes, I was thinking, how the fuck did he do that? They really just wait for hours and hours and hours and hours until they thought the sun was going to peer around the corner from behind a cloud and
Well,
brighten the
they
scene.
would have. I mean, they were doing recce's. They know what time the sun rises. And it's all
Yeah,
like,
I mean, the patience, and the perseverance to get some of those shots alone were incredible. But it's not just like, oh, the scenery is amazing and the big sky and the lakes and the trees. It's just the way it's framed as well. So the way, especially the beginning, when there's more characters in the frame, when the characters really close up of someone's face when they're talking or just sitting there, and in the background you can almost see like 200-300 feet in the background like a small waterfall. It's quite amazing the way they track the focus and your eye just plays around and moves around the big screen. So when some people have said, oh, it looks all right, but plenty of films do that. I mean, they don't. There's so much detail, there's so much painstaking detail that's gone into making every frame look amazing. That alone makes it a really good film, I think.
I really liked it.
What do you think about? Do you think his performance is like leading into DiCaprio performances? Do you think his is up there, or do you think it's because it was just the year of DiCaprio? And also, what do you think of the bear scene?
So what, the rape?
Well, was it a rape? It wasn't a rape, though, was it?
It wasn't.
Why is everyone saying it's a rape?
Because it just looks a bit. There's like certain bits where
It's a bit rapey.
it looks a bit rapey.
Because when I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, what's going to happen now? Is the bear actually just going to like rape his face or something? But that scene is quite incredible. Yeah, I don't know how they did it. I mean, obviously the bear was all effects, but
yeah,
it's and it's like it's a long scene, isn't it? It's
pretty much one take as well, I want to say. Yeah, man, just really liked it. What were you saying? DiCaprio's performance. Oh, yeah.
So what do you reckon?
I mean, it's really good. I mean, but because I was looking back at his previous performances, it didn't actually make my top 5. I think mainly because it's not that he was a character. He was just, performance. Okay. Like he's a man on a mission, etc. But it's not like, it's how do I say this? He's like going up against adversity and all this stuff, and okay, that's great. There's no like complex character there or anything like that.
Yeah,
one man on a mission, and it was really good, and I really liked it. And okay, if it wins an Oscar, great, but it's not like the best performance because essentially it's him kind of crawling through places and looking a bit tough.
That's the thing. It reminded me of the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, was it? Or no, the one on PS3 a few years ago when he's just crawling at the end of it. Yeah, Snake's just crawling, and you press a button, crawl. I
love that.
That was amazing, especially because it's like at the end, and you've had to persevere with these like feature film length cutscenes and 20, 30, 40 hours of gameplay, and then finally it's this massive epic scene at the end when he's just crawling through fire or whatever the hell's happening. It reminded me of that. But I think you're right. Like it's a very physical performance, and there is something to say for like if you drop an actor in a tough situation, is it easier to just show that anguish in your face and discomfort because you are physically cold and in pain at that point anyway, or is it is that easier to do than having to give a subtle, nuanced performance of a complex character in a drama? What's harder, what's easier? I don't really know, but I think a lot of it is just reacting to situations, isn't it, and just struggling through them.
But it's also like he hasn't got anything. His competition just isn't that great.
Well, that's the thing. It's one of those. It's like if you just keep plugging away, you'll eventually get the Oscar, because eventually there'll be a year where you don't have much competition. Like a football team, if you keep playing pretty well, eventually you'll win the league because the other competition will just fall away, and you'll get lucky one year. Because it will be a typical example of someone winning it for their body of work rather than from the actual performance in the actual film they've been nominated for, I think. We are literally talking as if he's won it. But yeah, I mean, up against people like Matt Damon and Fassbender and Brian Cranston, I can't see him not winning it. Plus, because it's just ridiculous massive megastar, isn't he? It's like it kind of suits it, and it's going to help everyone make money afterwards, even more so. But yeah, I liked his beard and his hair as well, man. It's one of those films where you walk out thinking, I'm really glad I've been growing my hair. It's like, oh, it's really cool just seeing everybody just like have as much hair and on their face and head as physically possible.
Yeah, I love it.
It's
That's
like
how I
Game
want.
of Thrones effect.
I was looking at DiCaprio's beard, and I was like, that was kind of how I was starting to go. If I just grown it a bit
His
more.
beard is good, isn't it?
Yeah, but like where
It's
it's like stringy and
yeah, his
not
gets
much on
his
the
is a
top.
bit.
It's just all like at the bottom and
Yeah,
underneath.
it's a low hanging beard. It's like if I'd just like, you know, when you're growing your hair and there are points where you get really frustrated and you think, fuck, I've got to cut it. And that happens to me. Yeah, it happens to me about once a month, I reckon, once every 6 weeks. I'm just like, it's got to go. It's just got to go. Especially when I was living abroad, it was really hot.
Yeah.
I would be gutted if I just cut my hair and it was like short and okay, you know, unoffensive, conservative, nice cut, whatever. And then I went and watched this film. I'd be like, fuck, I really wish I had my long hair again. Just because long hair just looks cool, especially in these situations.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially
I have like nightmares where like I don't have long hair anymore.
Really?
And I hope I fucking it at the moment, but it's just like, okay, it's long.
Yeah,
okay,
but it's a love. Long hair is for a man is a love-hate relationship, though, isn't it? There are times when you're like, oh, this looks so cool, or like if someone goes, I love your hair, and you're like, it's so cool. But then most of the time it's like it's fucking annoying, and you just want to chop it all off. But I like watching like period films and like fantasy films and stuff like this in the wilderness where everyone's just got long hair, long beards, just let it all go. Even Tom Hardy, when you think he's got long hair, and then he takes his weird little do-rag off and he's just got a fucked up head. And then later on, he's like wearing a little rat on his head or something. I don't know what he's wearing. He just keeps having these weird little animal hats. He's like, oh right, now I don't know. Towards the end, he's wearing like a rabbit hat or something. I don't know what he's got going on, but like he keeps somehow keeps changing his outfits. But then Leo is just wearing like poo he's found, just like, oh, I need another layer of poo just to smear it around my mouth in my face, and then another pooey fur I've just picked up, and then I need to whack it on. So it's kind of like this weird computer game where he's just finding rags and shit on the floor and just chucking it on him to get through the film.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's good though, man. Like, yeah, just do stupid stuff like when he's like still really fucked up and he's by the river, and this is no spoilers by the way, but then like the Indians come and they're like looking around, and like the way you're like with him in that moment thinking fuck,
yeah,
and stuff like just going over the cliff on the horse and whatever, and you're just like fuck.
I know that there are points like that where it's like this guy can physically not survive. He should have died in the first 2 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
But then it happens so much that you're just rooting for him, just thinking, okay, like you get over the silliness of how he's somehow surviving this, and especially considering what happens to him at the beginning with the bear, and then towards the middle and then the last third, you're just like rooting for him, just going go, get through it, like a guy running a marathon. You're just like, just fucking get through it, man. We've been in this together. You can't finish. You can't stop now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Like you said, the beats of it are really good because every time it takes a bit of a lull and has a dreamy sequence or something, suddenly he might
straight back in.
Yeah, like literally, he might be having like this weird.
Like when he's asleep trip, and they like
literally having a trip, yeah, like he's about to die and he's dripping out, and then suddenly it's like, boom, and then arrows come in and he's like, fuck, and then like having to. So yeah, the pacing of it I thought was really cool, and it didn't feel long for me, even though it's a long film, it's like 2.5 hours, I think.
Yeah,
it didn't feel long for me at all. It just felt excitement, really, and yeah, I'll definitely watch it again. Whether or not it's the best film of the year, I'm not sure. But it's up there because it's not the best year. There you go.
True. Good point. So let's go on to DiCaprio's best roles. So I've got my little list here, but yeah, why don't you take me through what you're thinking?
Well, no, you take me through what you're thinking.
Okay, whilst you do it. So for me, I was kind of going through and
like we can make one up in my head.
I have to. All right, I'm going to go through the top 5, and then I'll do my special shout outs, which was kind of part of the deciding factor. Yeah. So for me, number 5 was Frank Abagnale Jr. in Catch Me If You Can, because the way he just he plays like every kind of emotion in there, from like kiddie, like playfulness to you know, to being like a criminal, to being like going insane, sad, like I was trying to think about what are these emotions that humans have.
How many emotions do we have each? We have 5. But yeah, I mean, the performance it ranges from probably the age of what, like 18 to 38 or even middle age. I can't remember exactly how it ends.
Kind of,
So I mean, even for that alone is quite a broad age range to play in one role anyway, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like it.
And I just, exactly, just the range. That's what I should be saying. But not like, again, I'm not saying these is like his 5 best films. Just his like what I thought was his best performances.
Yeah.
And that was I quite like that. So at number 4, and Rob will love this, I have got Jack from Titanic, just because it really like obviously plucks like 1.5 billion heartstrings or whatever, like worldwide, and the way he goes from like, you know, you really do believe he's like this young, kind of old school, like almost 1940s style romantic, and that he's truly in love with Rose, and generally just a performance that obviously has lasted the test of time, as well to this day. Number 3 is Calvin Candy in Django. This one was a bit weird because I was like, I don't know, I wasn't sure of it, but I was like, it's the first kind of time I've seen him properly play like a bad guy, and I really liked it, and I just liked him as a character. Like,
I thought he was awesome in that. That's one that would be my top 3 as well, for sure.
Yeah, just like kind of OTT, but in a good way, and really intense. Just kind of ate up the scene every time he was in it. And just showed like his, you know, he can kind of do anything. Like a lot of these roles that he gets put in are very drama, serious kind of roles, and this was the same, but just showed that he can do it. He's still like extremely watchable, even when he's not crying or just looking menacing. And so number 2, I've got Cobb from Inception.
That's interesting, right?
Reason I was thinking about this, and reason why is I like the way he's got one thing on his mind, and he's just basically trying to cover up the fact that he's just basically insane.
Yeah, he's just obsessed.
That the entire film, he's like gone completely mad, and he's just trying to hang on to like one loose thread of sanity, and you're with him throughout, and obviously that's been expected at the end. And he, even though there's like a million things going on, it's a really great story, really great characters and stuff. For me, it was just the way he's trying to kind of play this action hero, but flawed in the like horriblest, weirdest kind. That people talk about flawed superheroes or whatever, but like Cobb was like, you know, you can fucking mess around with your dreams and stuff, mess around with your mind, and he's just fucking insane as it is. And that was quite intense. I don't know.
Good role.
That.
I'm intrigued what your number 1's going to be, because there's a few standouts that you have mentioned. So
that's why it's really difficult. So my number 1 was Basketball Diaries, Jim Carroll.
That was going to be my number 1.
Cool. Just because it's like that's the first time I was like, who the fuck is this kid? I never saw What's Eating Good Grape, I should say, which apparently he was really good at. But like, just being like this young druggy fucking male prostitute.
I think that was his coming out. That's probably, I loved that film as a kid, especially when we were young in school, and there was a lot of like controversy about it because of the so many American mass shootings, unfortunately. But what one was with this link to that the guy said he was inspired by it, and then they had to take out the scene where he walks in with like the trench coat and starts like machine gunning people down, and then there was a link to an actual event, wasn't it, that happened. So that got quite a lot of this like sensationalist coverage, didn't it, because of this film. But that was his like I mean, he was in like, what else was he in? This Boy's Life, and he did so much as a kid, actually, didn't he, as well? Man in the Iron Mask as well, when he was quite young. Around the same time.
So I was like, Pet Sematary 2. So, no, and then I realised I was thinking of Critters 3, which is like I knew it
Oh,
was
that
in
was it.
something shit.
Critters 3, yeah. Everyone has to do a crappy B movie horror film when they're a
At some
kid,
point.
for sure. But yeah, man, I think mine. I won't do a top 5. I'll just do some honorary mentions then. But Basketball Diaries would probably be possibly my favorite of his films, just because of, for nostalgic reasons. I just loved it as a kid, and I thought it was a very it's disturbing film in a way. But his performance about losing his mate, is it to cancer? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so,
Leukemia,
yeah.
wasn't it? And just seeing
I don't know, was it AIDS?
is it AIDS or leukemia? One of those. I can't
I don't know.
remember. But I think it's leukemia, because I think he lost his hair, didn't he? And they put the hat on this kid, and they like took him out. They broke him out of the hospital, didn't they? And took him out to in the rain to play basketball and stuff. And like, that's that kind of film that has this real like coming of age feel about it. And when you're like watching it, not a too dissimilar age, you're kind of like, wow, man, this means so much, man. This has got such an emotional punch. Because imagine if one of my friends were like that, and we're just like privileged kids growing up in wherever in Surrey and going to school every day. But you kind of like to think of your lives as a bit more of a struggle than that. So you're like, wow, I can really empathize with this.
Yeah.
So that's why that really got me as a kid, that role. And it was, looking back at it, as a really mature performance by him at that age to be able to pull that off. I also remember, like, I can't remember the exact scenes and stuff. I remember thinking he was really good in Revolutionary Road, because a lot of his roles are like big, like Gangs of New York, big, shouty, screamy, thumpy, sexy,
Yeah.
And as much as I loved that film at the time, it did date quite quickly. Time hasn't been the best friends of Gangs of New York when you look back on it.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But I mean, at the time, I remember both of us loved it, didn't we? But a lot of
Yeah,
it's,
I thought
I
I
mean,
still
he just,
loved it. But
I mean, yeah, it's still good. I think maybe because of Cameron Diaz in it, like, who I can't stand, and she does it for me.
Hey, Irish, isn't she?
Huh?
Isn't she Irish or something?
Yeah, I'm Irish in it. Yeah, she tries to be. But then everything's just overshadowed by Daniel Day-Lewis anyway. So DiCaprio's never going to get a moment's notice really in that. But even so, his performance in that is very just like struggling again, big and like angsty and punched a wall. So I remember Revolutionary Road as like a kind of white picket fence suburban drama, and there's a lot of like there's domestic arguments and abuse and stuff in it. I remember thinking that was really intense, like almost a stage performance.
Yeah, man, I really liked it as well. I just don't. It's just not that memorable from.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I was like, which scenes do I remember? But just they're slowly trickling back into my membranes, and I remember thinking, shit, man. But they're both so good in it, Winslet and him. But yeah, Titanic is obviously it's really encapsulate that whole like massive, epic. Landmark, the famous, everything being so famous and carrying such a huge film on his shoulders when he was like still relatively young, pretty impressive as well.
Literally having every woman, girl, whatever in the world fall in love with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, there's one thing to have a pretty face and one thing to be able to just like captivate people. And our friend Rob, who was saying to me the other day, I think he's shit. He just plays himself the whole time. He's literally the worst actor in the world. He might not have the most range in the world as some actors, because he is cast in certain roles sometimes. He's usually this kind of like brooding, frowny,
intense.
Like, kind of. Yeah, but that's the word I was about to move on to. Is like he has an intensity that is like, you can be good looking and be a dreamboat on screen, but he has got a unique intensity about him though that is very hard to like mimic. So to say, I think it's quite to say that he's kind of just one-dimensional actor. The thing he does well is very captivating. That his intensity, like, not many people can do it. So there's a reason that his roles would tend to end up in that kind of atmosphere. But it's Departed, man. Departed, really good as well. Awesome film, and he got nominated for Departed, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, that's another like Wolf of Wall Street as well. I didn't think was like an Oscar-winning performance. It's just like him having a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it's like him doing big, massive things, like screamy performance and really intense stuff, and throwing his fists around. But it almost looks too much fun to get an Oscar for, really. And that a performance like that doesn't look like it's difficult for him. if that makes sense. The same as like Tom Hardy in Revenant doesn't look difficult for Tom Hardy because it's kind of what he does. And DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, it's you know, it's a really fun performance and really animated and charismatic, but it's not like an Oscar-winning performance with a lot of depth to it. But yeah, so I'd probably agree. Basketball Diaries, even as a kid, and also I really like Gatsby. Again, his performance is just this smooth, you know, charismatic character. You know, he's just playing what is in on the pages of the book. But I really liked that. I thought he was cast perfectly for it. So that's another one I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one I was thinking Gatsby, but I was like, is it really like one of his best? I was just basically putting him in comparison, and
Probably
I liked
not.
these ones better. But the only one that I was like, oh man, I really want to put it in the list, but I can't. Was Shutter Island, Teddy.
Yeah.
But again, it's just like that's just kind of hitting one slightly disturbed, crazy note, and I was like,
the whole time.
Yeah, that's why, like with Inception, it's kind of got. It's not as blatant. It's more subtle.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's why I thought about Revolutionary Road as well. It's not like you said. Often he does hit one note the whole film, which is perfectly pitched that note. But whether or not it's that diverse, I don't know. But I didn't see J. Edgar. Did you see that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's bad.
Yeah, do you think
his
that
performance wasn't great either. I mean, it's like it's exactly what you'd expect him to do. So it's basically like Aviator, but he's Jack Hoover instead.
It's funny, isn't it? Because Aviator was supposed to be his Raging Bull almost, but it wasn't. You know,
it's one of those
boring.
Was like, this should be good, but I don't know how they could have got it wrong, but they did.
Well, I don't know. It felt like that was just a bit like, okay, this is going to be the Oscar performance. Let's tick all the boxes, all of them. You know, let's go crazy. Let's do this, and let's piss in bottles of milk and put them out. You know, just play one of the most bizarre, like megalomaniac kind of eclectic role. Well, not eclectic, but egocentric is the word I was looking for. Roles that you can think of and try and put that on screen, but it's almost too much. It's just too big and too shouty and too intense. You know, that there wasn't much subtlety to it. But yeah, that's what Edgar looks like. I don't know why I haven't seen it. It just looks like I'm not that interested. But it looks that kind of thing, and it just seems like that was Eastwood, right? It's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah,
is it? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He's worked with them all. He has worked with the best of the best actors, directors, and it seems like he's going, oh, okay. Eastwood's next, so what you got? Okay, let's do it. Oh, okay, cool. Who's next? Okay. Tarantino, let's do something. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, who we got next? There. Let's go. Marty. Okay, give me a couple of years, Marty. I want to work for some other people. Be back in a sec. And it's just got ridiculous resume, hasn't he?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, man, I mean, he's a proper movie star. Like he may not be a Daniel Day-Lewis, but he's a proper movie star, and you don't have many of those these days. You know, it's not like the classic era when you have these stars that have these like all these rumors about their personal lives, and they're these bachelors, and they go out with supermodels, but then they just turn it on when they go on film, and every single film is like massive hit. People don't tend to criticize his performances. He works with the biggest and best directors. He's a throwback movie star, and that's what I like about him, because he could have just gone on to do any shitty old superhero film. Like I think we mentioned before, like how many superhero films he would have been offered along the way. And in his like early 20s, he could have done action films, and he could have done a whole Keanu Reeves thing and just got easy paychecks, but he didn't. And he didn't do that from a young age. He decided not to do that, or at least he was guided in a certain way. So fuck, man, he's an interesting person on and off screen. So I think that's what I like about him.
Yeah, man, he is. I think he's cool.
So he's a dreambird. Yeah,
it's a massive dreambird. Yeah. Okay, well, that was our top Leonardo DiCaprio Rares. So we watched a variety of films this week. Maybe we should go into Spotlight first, since we've both seen that.
Yeah, you go for it, because
should I go into it?
Yeah.
So Spotlight is with Rachel McAdams, Michael Keaton, and who else? Mark Ruffalo and some other people. Who is the boss? What's his name again? Liv Schreiber, that's it.
Yeah.
And basically they are working at the Boston Globe, which is a newspaper, and they're like a special investigative reporter team. And they decide to, their boss basically tells them to go look into the Catholic Church and all these pedo priests. And they do so.
Pedo priests.
And they do so. And they start unraveling more and more and more. And basically they're like, shit, basically every single priest is a pedophile. What are we going to do? And that's basically it. So as a film, it is about this team unraveling these events. And last week I was saying how Mark Ruffalo was a shoo-in for the Oscar because it's probably he kind of deserves it, and I imagine this is like a good role that he's playing. When really he just acts a bit like a retarded child throughout the whole film. All he does is go, yeah, okay, sure, okay. I'm gonna check this thing out, pass. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like shit fringe, and
I know his haircut is annoying, isn't it?
yeah, and it's
He's
like
a newspaper guy, man. He doesn't care about his hair because he's just about the stories. He's about the truth.
That's what I mean. It was like I was watching it going, this is just riffing off the fact that there's this newfound interest, Making a Murderer, whatever, Serial and Jinx, whatever. But like people are starting to find more of an interest in documentaries, and this feels like I'm making that up. That might not be true, but that's just my general view.
Well, it could have been
maybe it's just what I'm doing.
It probably
that's
should.
What I mean, I would rather watch the documentary, but they're like, okay, if you make a documentary, it's not going to get seen. So let's just do, or maybe there's already one out there. So
it would just get shut down.
Yeah, and it's not. It's a film about nothing. Yeah, it's like they go from. We've got to find out from this guy. Like Stanley Tucci was pretty good as like some annoyed Jewish Catholic priest or whatever.
Yeah,
a priest, lawyer.
Your lawyer,
And they're just finding out. They're just drip feeding you bits of information. But the thing is, you already know that like tons of Catholic priests are pedos, so you already know that it's going to end up with them like.
Why is that? Why? What is going on though?
Because they check. That's basically it's a recruitment center for pedos.
Do you think that whether or not we should go doesn't really talk about it? It doesn't really speculate, as I guess it probably shouldn't, but it doesn't really speculate why the priests are acting this way. If they're encouraging each other to do this, is there some sort of indoctrination and some sort of like tutorial that is like, it's okay, we should all be doing this? Or is it just that they all happen to have the same, they just coincidentally all have the same creepy pedo fetish?
Well, this is the thing. It's
very bizarre, isn't it? And like very, very, very sinister. But it's like you say, it's a film about nothing, and it isn't, because it's a film about a massive thing, but it feels like it's about nothing because it's boring.
It's nothing because it's all about the superficial nature of the story rather than the story itself. Like if we were to read the story of what they wrote about it, then they probably would have invested all the emotion and stuff. But just finding people who are just asking people about information does not make a film. And you're right, like it's supposed to be about the institution, and like and it's like, okay, they've got a couple of scenes where victims are talking about it, and I'm like, what? I just rather
there wasn't enough of
read.
There wasn't quite enough of that, even though it's it's not to say I want to listen to 2 hours of someone describing how they were touched as a kid by a priest, but because then it goes a bit into like, it's just sensationalist and it's just disturbing, shocking for the sake of it. But for such a shocking subject matter, it wasn't very shocking. Like you said, it should be about the truth and the story, but it's about the people chasing the story, which isn't always that interesting.
No, and I know it's supposed to be like, it's about this time where investigative journalism was still a thing. It's before like the internet. It's around the time of the internet starting to
because they're like, let's use the World Wide Web.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's this thing called the World Wide Web. It's supposed to be like around the year 2000 or something. So,
because the thingy happens is it goes into World Trade Center, doesn't it? So it's 2001.
Yeah. So so it doesn't. It's strange. Like people walk around, and there's this plinky plonky piano thing, which annoyed me throughout.
Yeah.
They don't get into any of the real characters of the perpetrators or the victims, and I thought it was going to be something like, funny enough, that documentary Deliver Us from Evil, whereby it was going to be about the fact that about the church and the fact that priests got moved around a lot instead of getting thrown out of the church, and talking to them and the victims, and like, it being this whole thing. It's not. It's basically going, here is a job of an investigative reporter, which is extremely important, that just doesn't really exist anymore because of our media today. And it's like, well, what do you want us to do about it? Like,
yeah, exactly. What do you want from me? What do you want? You've already got my cinema ticket money. What else do you want?
Exactly. This film isn't about paedophile priests. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about what it is to be a journalist, investigative journalist. And to be honest, the whole time, there was no redemption in that. The real character who saw it through and was actually interesting was the dullest character of all, which is Liv Schreiber, because it was just like, you guys are thinking, like, you investigative reporters, which is apparently a whole thing that we need and is the whole reason for this film. All you guys are doing are just moaning that we don't launch the story now. And he's like, you've got to look at the bigger picture, which is the Catholic Church, not just like there's a couple of paedophile priests. So if anything, they're saying like, these investigative journalists who uncrack this case aren't really that bright or whatever. Or like,
exactly.
They just wanted to get out the story as quick as possible, and they didn't find it in the first place.
Well, I think it's because
people sent them information, they didn't care about it.
And they were too close to it because it's all set in Boston. It feels like people couldn't see or weren't allowed to see the wood for the trees kind of thing. It's just, it was all on their doorstep. So how could they notice it? And then it's like, how could we not notice it? And then they were like, there was, a dozen priests who could and were probably doing this. Oh no, there were like 90. Oh no, this is like snowball effects that everyone's at it. And everyone knows somebody who's a victim, and they didn't necessarily admit it at the time. But I think you're right. It's like it is a bit of this worthy piece, and I'm surprised how acclaimed it has been. And I think it's just because of the subject matter, and it is a bit of this worthy thing about investigative journalism at its best. When it really mattered, and when you had to dig out stories, and you had to source them, and you had to really chase them down, and you had to knock on people's doors, and you had to pose the hard questions, because otherwise, no one would have known, because the internet wasn't around. But it also like raises questions like with these, one person I just flicking through reviews and stuff from Washington Post. It's not a stretch to suggest that Spotlight is the finest newspaper movie of its era, joining Citizen Kane and All President's Men in the pantheon of classics of the genre. So that's that is a massive overstatement. But to even compare it to Citizen Kane is a joke.
Who the fuck has compared to Citizen Kane?
Someone in the Washington Post. But
God,
it could be the finest newspaper movie of its era, joining Citizen Kane and All the President's Men in the pantheon of classics of the genre. For one thing, the newspaper movie is not the best genre. It's not the most exciting genre in the world, and you can't compare anything to Citizen Kane, because it's not about the fact that it was a newspaper film. It's about the fact that it fucking started everything, pretty much. But yeah, it's like I can see why they didn't want to go all Da Vinci Code or like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and have like characters running around and getting pieces of information and turn into this like espionage detective story where you're piecing all the stuff together, like wrapped up in a like weird action film. But the problem is when you don't do that, and it is literally nearly every scene in a newspaper room with characters with bags under their eyes, and they haven't slept for days and days because all they care about is finding the truth. It's just kind of boring. And
I'd never watch it again. What's the point?
No, I'll never watch it. You need, it's a fucking film. You need a little bit of excitement. You need a little bit of intrigue, and you need something to make you want to sit there and grip you, and there wasn't really enough of it. And there's almost too many actors, too many actors trying so hard to steal it that nobody did, and they almost cancelled each other out. So for me, there wasn't really a standout performance. Like Ruffalo and McAdams have both been nominated. I'd be surprised if either of them win for this, because if you're playing a role in which someone is telling you, if you're playing a role which includes you learning discovering that there's just an epidemic of paedophilia around
You're
you,
just reacting. Yeah.
it's going to be a pretty serious role. And you know, exactly, you're just reacting to the hearing, learning of horrible things happening, and obviously investigating them and trying to find out even more details. So it's a bit of a like, Oscar bait type of film anyway.
Yeah.
And it's all just comes down to the subject matter. And if it wasn't that subject matter, I just don't think people would be that intrigued about this film, and they'd be plauding it as much as they are. And you
That's,
know,
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's a weird one. It really is, because it's not like even an expose, because it doesn't really go into that much detail of what happened. And not to say I want to be shocked by all this disgusting shit that happened, but I'd like to know a bit more about why it happened and how they got away with it, instead of it happened for ages and then eventually people found out about it. And that's it. Um, and then the most interesting thing is at the end of the film. This isn't a spoiler, but it just lists. It says that this happened not just in Boston, but everywhere around the world. There's like 600 cases of this happening, or something like that.
Yeah, in case you didn't realize, like,
Yeah,
pedophiles.
yeah, exactly. This wasn't just a local thing to Boston. This happened everywhere, and this case was so important that 600 articles were written on this. Boston. Sorry, no, Boston or Baltimore? Boston, isn't it?
Boston, yeah.
600 articles alone were written on what was happening in Boston, and then it's like it triggered. It was a catalyst for finding out and exposing the Catholic Church through for all these other destinations. So the last 2 seconds of it were the most interesting thing, but there's something not very satisfying about it, because after you watch something like Going Clear, which is an amazing examination of an investigation of Scientology, you feel like you've watched something that might change stuff. You feel like you're seeing things that other people don't know about and haven't seen before. That this material in front of you, it's like, okay, this is important, you know. But you don't get the feeling from Spotlight. And I know it's like it's retrospective on what was happening before, and it's not a documentary, but you still don't get that importance of it. It's just doesn't seem, you know what I mean? Just doesn't have that weight, or it just doesn't.
I know what you mean.
Seems a little bit pointless, which
That's
is
what
a
I mean.
shame.
It's totally superficial, superfluous. It's weird. It's a
It
weird
is, isn't
film.
it?
It's just like, I don't know what this is. It's like it'll be forgot. It's like someone's used a damp a tissue to clean up a stain, when really a cloth should be used, and you're going to throw that tissue away and think, well, it kind of did the job, and then that tissue will go into the bin, and the bin will go outside to the trash, and someone will pick it up and take it to the dump. And then a few years from now, you'll be thinking, oh, do you remember when I spilled that thing and I used that tissue to clean it up? Yeah.
But do you think it's because the stain is so powerful, as in the stain of the Catholic Church, that's why? Yeah, that it's like you can keep trying to wipe the stain away, but it will keep doing exactly what the hell it wants, because it's so powerful, so rich, and so just.
That's what I mean. It's like, that's not what the film. What is that? What the film's about? Like, honestly, I don't know.
It doesn't.
Like,
That's the thing. You're right.
Throw away, like, weird article that, like.
If it investigated the corruption within the church and the cover-up within the church, then it'd be a bit more interesting. But it doesn't really, does it? It just like, these things happened, and now we're figuring out that it happened, and now people are admitting it. And then even one of the priests is like, did he say I messed around?
He was like, yeah, I touched it, but there was no rape.
I molested kids. Yeah, I played around. There's no rape, but it doesn't go any further than that. That scene there, for me, encapsulated the whole film. Where Rachel McAdams knocks on a door, talks to a priest, and he says, yeah, I touched him. Yeah, I molested them, but there wasn't any rape. Oh no, I shouldn't be talking about this. And then the wife comes out, whatever, and says, stop talking.
Well, I was raped.
That is the film. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, then he goes, well, I was raped, and that's the film in a nutshell. It gives a little bit, and then it takes it all away, and you think, oh, you're not really going there. You're not. Okay, well, what else is there? What else are you investigating here? What else are you going to uncover? Oh, not much. You're just actually talking about the time that the newspapers found out this was happening, and that's it. It's almost making a documentary about 9/11 and then not discussing how and why it happened, and just discussing how the news reported on it and how everyone found out about it, rather than the event itself. And that the event does happen in the film, and it's weird, isn't it, when 9/11 happens and they're like, oh, that's a bit shit, because we can't really like You know,
work on our
at least it's
story.
our story now.
Yeah.
I guess that set us back 6 months. It's like, right, okay.
Yeah, there's one point where they're like, "Oh man, we've been doing nothing but 9/11 stuff for 3 months.
Yeah, I know, it's
Like,
really
we need to do something
superficial.
else now."
Yeah, and then that guy, one of them was
Okay.
like, hey, so when are we getting the story? And they were like, I know, man, fucking 9/11's been in the way, hasn't it? But don't worry, the story's gonna go to
So
press
still
soon.
going.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, people have stopped. You know, all they've been talking about is 9/11 this, 9/11 that. But it's, you know, yeah, it's calmed down now, so we can get on with things. The real stories, the real issues.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, but for me, the weirdest thing is that how acclaimed it's been and how much attention it's gotten.
It's just because of the subject matter. It's cheap. It's a cheap shot. Like, there's nothing about the film which is like remarkably great. Like, if I was like, if you give me enough money and I said, right, I'm going to make a thing on like the Irish church being pedos, give me some Hollywood
The Irish
stars,
Church. Yeah.
like, and give me a crew, I'll bring you something, and you'll probably like that because it's like it's about pedo priests, so it's got to be like, there's no just whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not like it's like a bad film either.
No, it's not.
More that it's
Well,
it doesn't need to exist. I don't know.
yeah, it doesn't need to exist, and I just find it frustrating that this, in the same way that like everything surrounding the controversy of, yeah, you know, molesting within the church is frustrating because nothing seems to have happened about it. Like this massive cover up. You know, I'm sure, like, you know, some obviously priests have been sacked and fired, and some have probably gone to jail or whatever, but it's similar to the film. It's like, oh well, then what happened? And then one point it says how one of the priests in Boston was like discharged or sacked, but then he went to Rome and then became one of the most important positions in the Vatican. Is like, right, so you almost got promotion. You got even closer to God for doing that. Weird, very weird. The whole thing's very weird. It makes me actually want to watch. Is it Deliver Us from Evil, right?
Yeah, man, watch it. Honestly, you'll like watch it and go, "What?" And I'll be like,
well, I get a bit more satisfaction out, like, not in a sexual way,
good.
but a bit more satisfaction out of that, having watched the Spotlight and thinking, you know, didn't really give me.
Like, by far and away, like, you know, guys, if you got Netflix, don't. I mean, you know, if you want to watch Spotlight, whatever, but watch Deliver Us from Evil, and it's just such a much better. And it's real. It's a documentary.
It's real. It's real stuff.
It's real stuff. It really happened.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's Spotlight.
There's Spotlight. Okay, what else are you watching?
I watched Room. This is what I want to talk about. Yeah. So you touched on it last week, but you didn't touch it hard because I hadn't touched it yet. So stop saying touching after what we've just been talking about. But yeah, Room, man, I thought it was incredible. I absolutely loved it. It killed me in a good and bad way. You know, now we can actually talk about our emotions, seeing as I've seen it as well, and you didn't want to give anything away. But shit, man, you know, that gave my tear ducts a serious workout.
Which bits? Spoiler free. Which without saying,
I can't. There's one certain scene that got me, but I can't say what it is because it's not a spoiler in the story. It's just that, yeah, you know, when he's kind of trying to give her his strong. That's as much.
That's really
Man, the first half, I wasn't that emotionally invested. I was like, just really
more
intrigued.
just watching, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, man, that film is amazing. The way it's two halves of a film, and it's not only like some films do that. They split it in half in terms of location or setting or environment or whatever, or even characters or time. Often it'd be time. It'd be like flashback and then flash forward or set in a different period. But the way this film is pretty much split in half, one half in the room and the other half out of the room, which I don't think is spoiling anything. It's not just the setting and the environment, but it's the emotional, two halves of, you know, how it affects you emotionally in both of those halves. So yeah, the first half you are watching, you're not participating, but you're horrified at it, but you're watching and seeing how the hell this is going to play out. And then the second half, it's almost like you're a member of the family and you're crying for no reason. Like, I was like, you know, it was only really the second half, maybe in the last third, I was just starting to like really tear up. And I was like, what the hell? And I couldn't really stop crying just from what was happening. It's not so much what had happened to these characters, but it's just what could happen in the future and their relationship and the optimism, because it's such a disturbing, horrific story, and in a nutshell, it's, for those who don't know, it's about a mother and son who are trapped in a room, like a shed, for 7 years by a captive. She was kidnapped and trapped in there when she was 17, and in those 7 years she has a son who in the film turns 5 years old. He doesn't know anything outside of the room, those four walls. So he has little nicknames for like chair number one and chair number two. That alone just killed me, ripped my heart out. And like his cupboard and his only toy, and like they only eat bread, and all he has in his life is his mum. So he doesn't know anybody or anything really, and he just knows this room. And then the second half of the film is, if they were to get out of the room, what would the real life be like, and what would happen to them if they were to get out of that room. But yeah, man, like it's just I thought it was incredible. It was such like a subtle, in a way, it was shot so subtly, and it's such an intimate the way it was all shot. There's a lot of like low shots. I was thinking a lot actually how they were shooting some of it, because
it's supposed to be from his perspective, so that's
why I guess, isn't it? A lot of low angled shots, so it's very claustrophobic. So would they have had like some sort of like glass floor, not glass floor, but how are they shooting some of those scenes that
just get some mini legs,
low angled? Huh?
It's mini legs.
It's what, just have a camera really low down on a little thingy.
Yeah, man. Or if you've got a Steadicam thing, just
shooting upwards.
Loads of it,
and like really wide angle lens as well, because you could sometimes see in most of the room. It was like it's quite incredible how it was shot in the room, and then suddenly everything changed, and the coloring and everything, and there's also like this weird optimism throughout, even though it was such like a horrific subject matter. But the performance of the kid, Brie Larson, I was a little bit skeptical just because she's the girl from 21 Jump Street, but she's incredible. And at first, her performance got more and more powerful, better and better and better, and more complex, because her character at first is just dealing with a shitty situation that she's been in for years and just getting through day by day. But then actually her character, if the situation improves, her mental state doesn't, and it gets more and more complex, more like fractured. Her performance is amazing, but the kid is incredible. Like you said last week, you would literally believe that kid is being shown these things for the first time, and has been stuck in a room, and all he knows is chair number one, chair number two, bed and cupboard. Like it is amazing. How is he acting or what? I don't even know.
That's why I was like, if you told me like he actually did it or whatever, like he wasn't even acting, like they just found it with, I'd just be like, yeah, I can believe that. He was just so good.
But how would you direct a kid like that? 'Cause he's so young. Apparently he's 6 or 7 when he was shooting it, and he's playing a kid who turns 5 in a room.
Yeah.
How on earth would you direct a kid like that? How would you get a performance from that out of him? Because it's not simple. It's not like just reacting to stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of kid performances, like who's that kid in like Beast of the Southern Wild, right? And a lot of that is just being put into situations, and you can kind of you can guess how a director could get performance out of a kid in certain situations in certain films. But this, I haven't got a clue, because he's not just reacting to things happening at him. And I'm sitting there watching it thinking, like, is the director behind the camera saying, say this, say that? Or does the kid just get it? Does he just completely get it? He knows what his character's been through. He knows.
That's what I mean. It's crazy.
Because
that's why it's like when people are saying he could be best actor, I'm like, that doesn't surprise me. Like, but honestly, I don't know. I don't understand how.
It's the timing of his delivery and like the beats and stuff, like, and it's his mannerisms. He's not just saying, you can tell he's not saying what he's been told to say and just going, "Mummy, I'm hungry." He's like the subtle look on his face. He's like, he'll frown and be like, "Oh God, I've had a sandwich in hours. I'm hungry."
Natural.
Yeah, then he'll suddenly be like, "Oh, why?" And the frustration he'll suddenly get, be like, "Oh, but we had this yesterday, and and I don't want to sleep over there today. I want to sleep in that corner," or whatever. It's really amazingly believable, and also the relationship of the two is just so touching. I think that's what got me. That's what killed me.
Yeah.
Was if I had a kid, I would literally still be crying after watching that 2 days ago. But it's not like it's depressing and horrible and don't watch it if you've got kids. It's actually
Yeah.
really optimistic, and it almost celebrates the relationship between a mother and a child, but in a surrounded in a horrible situation.
Yeah, I mean, but that's it. I mean, because it's like she's still. I mean, in the book, oh God, I hate the book.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm
go
going
on.
to talk
Yeah,
about
go
it.
on. Tell
But
me
like,
about book versus film because I haven't read it. So give
well,
me
it's like because the book is taken like from the kid's perspective, so it's quite
everything.
childish.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
right.
think it was everything. So it's all like
That's
quite
like Lovely
childish
Bones,
language,
isn't it?
and huh?
Like Lovely Bones, isn't it? It's all written from her perspective, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't actually read Lovely Bones, but that sounds
Yeah,
right.
I did a while ago. Yeah.
So the idea of like Rome as a character in itself and all this stuff, but yeah, so you're
Mm.
kind of the same as the film, but not so much. You're seeing everything from his perspective, and you know what's going on, but obviously he doesn't because you're an adult and he's a child.
Yeah.
And it just felt because it's using childish language and things like that as you're reading it. I don't know. I didn't feel it's like you're trying to relate to a child, and there's all
Really?
this stuff going on, and you're like, I kind of want to know about the stuff, not how the kid's interpreting the stuff. Whereas
Right.
with the film, obviously it's showing you this, it's showing you more of the mum, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So
Right.
like
Okay.
you're seeing it as you're not only seeing it from the boy's perspective, but you're seeing it from Brie Larson's as well.
Yeah.
So you've got that, which is what the book didn't have.
I see.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I haven't read the book for ages, whenever it was released, but yeah, what was I going to say? But
Yeah, you're right. Like it doesn't feel like it's been adapted from a book, which is all written from a kid's perspective.
yeah,
In a
not
good
at all.
way.
That's why
Like
like
you
Brie
said,
Larson really brings her into it.
yeah, you can feel the emotion from the mother. It's not just the kid's story. It's if anything, it's the mother's story that the kid kind of takes over.
Yeah.
As he grows and understands what's happening around him. So I can see why it sounds like it almost lends itself more for a film anyway. And I love the way they use very adolescent language, but it's not just adolescent language. It's language you would use if you spent 5 years in a room, because it's like bad adolescent language. It's like incorrect English, but just stuff that why would she bother correcting him because they're stuck in a fucking room? As long as he can communicate, I think he gets, that's the point.
Yeah.
And just the words he uses for stuff, it's just like super cute, but super like depressing, but also just, really like really touching as well. But
Yeah.
it's
I
made
mean,
me want to read the book for sure.
I mean, you can do. I wouldn't bother if I was you, but
Let's watch the film again.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was. I just like the way she's okay. So, for instance, with a lot of these films that might do something similar, or if it tends to weird horror or like torture porn stuff, it's nothing like that. The real drama,
subtle, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the real drama is coming out of that situation and trying to adapt. That's why it's been split into two, because really that's the second difficult step. You're still in the room, essentially. You're still in this room that you've probably made for yourself. Because of the experience that you've just had, and that's where like the mum kind of comes into it, because she's having to like deal with it all, and that's what makes it more interesting than simply being some people trapped in a room. It's more the aftermath, which a lot of these things don't really touch upon, but because this is like the main majority, and it opens out straight away that they're in the room, not like oh, there she was captured, she was caught and everything. It's not about that. It's not actually about the room. It's not about being trapped for 7 years.
It's not about what happened, is it?
No,
it's not even about the guy who did it to them. It's just about, it's not even really about how they cope. Because a lot of films, and I guess because this is all has a foundation of this book, but a lot of films would want to go into how they get through every day, what meals they eat, mentally how they cope with things, and what's their escape plan, and if they're gradually planning an escape, and who is this guy, and does he forget to lock the door at times, and a bit of like a misery, like how am I going to get out of this situation? It could have easily turned into that, to have a bit more like suspense, but there's zero suspense in the film, in a good way. And like you said, it goes into how subtle everything is, very subtle in it, even though it packs a massive punch. And like how you would mentally cope with it, because like you said, your mind is still stuck in that room afterwards. And I like the way they didn't, like they could have easily gone, okay, then this girl goes to counselling, and she has to talk to a psychiatrist about it, and how's she going to get over it? But it didn't really do any of that. It just handled everything so delicately, and there's a lot left unsaid, and a lot that happened off camera that still around about the family and stuff.
Yeah.
That was so subtle, but like I saw a headline the other day, like, should the Oscars award subtlety over sensationalism? And maybe it should. For me, this film is better than The Revenant, just because to have an emotional punch with such subtlety is quite incredible, actually. So yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's good, man. I mean, I was just thinking about it, that it's almost like it's a coming of age film for both of them, in that that she obviously got taken as a teenager, and she's having to learn in the real world, and she has to deal with her parents' divorce and the fact that Thingy's got a new boyfriend, and that she can't get a job and stuff like that. Exactly. And the kid literally having to adapt to a completely entirely and a new way of living, and all these people and stuff.
I just like the way, and also they could have done those like cheesy, like, the kid, what is this? This is cheese.
Yeah.
What is this? And this is TV. This is computer. Like a little like Jungle Book kid who just suddenly sees like the city for the first time. But there was, obviously they weren't going to do quick shots like that, but there was nothing like that at all. The fact that the kid was so capable, having grown up in a little room, but which could adapt to a new environment so well, and he's so kind and so just like a loving little kid, that's I think what was so heartbreaking about everything.
I mean, the one bit, it didn't get me, but like the one bit I was like, fucking hell, just really like knocked me out after seeing all that, was when she's having the interview, and the woman's like, why didn't you just like tell him to take the baby to someone outside?
Crazy.
She was like, because it's mum. She was like, but
basically saying,
child, right?
Basically saying, were you selfish? Were you being selfish?
Essentially you kept that kid locked up.
But we know that she would have had that option. But it's like, it's accusing her.
She might have. Like, he didn't want. I mean, because bear in mind that he had never even saw the kid, did he? The whole time.
He didn't want it there, did he? But you never know. Maybe she did have the option as a baby. But it's like, but it's also that realization. She's never had that thought. She's never thought, and I think that's why it sent her a bit too crazy, because she's never thought, did I sacrifice this kid for me? Have I been selfish? Have I done the wrong thing here? Because I thought I was just trying to survive and do the best for my kid, but was I actually doing the best for me? Because I wanted, something in there with me. But that's the subtlety of it. These little lines that open up these big emotional feelings, and it's adapted by the same author, wasn't it? So she wrote the screenplay for it. And they're just amazing little lines in it. Like I said, when he said chair 1 and 2, that killed me. And it's when the doctor said, like, oh, it's a good thing you got him out while he was still plastic. And he's like, I'm not plastic. And the narration of him, his thoughts and his little feelings, talking about, like, spoon is funny because it's wormy and soft. It's just amazing. Like, his voice is so cool. It's such a sweet little voice. And those little lines of the descriptions of things, that not just childish way, but a child who wouldn't know any other way to put it, because he's never met anyone else and he doesn't know anything else. He's got literally nothing to compare it to. So the way he describes his spoon and his brush and his plate or whatever in these weird, like, odd ways is just it's just incredible, really. So that even every word in that film, there's not a huge amount of dialogue in it, but it really, like, it really goes a long way, doesn't it? These little lines from the kid and the way it's narrated as well, it's just done really, really well. It's not overbearing, like, okay, this kid's just talking us through this whole thing. It's just like his little thoughts, his little, like, I think this. But it works. Everything works about it. So, I mean, last week we were saying how it would be wicked to see Mad Max win the Oscar for Best Picture, and Revenant probably will win it, but I would love to see Room win it. But I don't think it's possible. I don't think a film like that can win Best Picture. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like
just too small.
Yeah, it's way too small. And it's annoying. Like, if it did, I mean, that's the thing that everyone says about Oscars these days, is that it's like, it doesn't take any chances. Like, I remember maybe it was 2011, when there was things like Drive and all this stuff about And
I know, man. That's so annoying. That didn't get anything.
yeah,
Like, didn't get noticed.
exactly. And people were saying like, right, okay, you've got these like great. It's a time for the Oscars that can really change. Like, it can take a step
Yeah,
back from having the classic actors, like the typical fucking
that was the one,
big
wasn't it?
drama
Yeah.
things.
And try and get like a bit of a younger market as well.
Yeah, yeah, and they didn't do it. They
Yeah.
chose not to. But then it's like, who is still choosing? It's still these like people that have been in Hollywood for. It's
Yeah,
not
these
like
old
people like
stuffy
you and me.
producers.
Exactly. It's like people who've been there since like the 50s, probably, or something.
Yeah, exactly. They're just clinging on with their rotten old teeth because they don't want to go. They don't want to do anything else because they're too powerful and too rich to do anything else. And then, yeah, exactly. Imagine how hard it is to crack into those jobs. Like how many years of nepotism and climbing the ladder you've got to do, or just schmoozing and fucking your way to the top. And
Yeah.
it's just, it must be so incestuous in those big roles in the studios, the powerful roles that dictate all this stuff. And yeah, unfortunately, I know we keep talking about the Oscars, and there is an argument to say fuck the Oscars, who cares anyway? But yeah, it's just it's just a money spinning thing. It's everything is marketing. All it is one big marketing machine, and yeah, they don't take risks, and it is a massive shame. But the fact that this is even being nominated for Best Picture is pretty cool. The fact it won't win it, but yeah, they should take more risks. They really should.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a good film.
No, I
Okay.
thought I loved it, but yeah. So I've just got to watch. You've seen all the Best Picture nominations, haven't you? You've seen Brooklyn, haven't you?
No, Brooklyn's the only one I haven't seen.
Me too. Yeah, let's try and watch Brooklyn somehow.
Yeah.
That'd be good to have them all watched.
Well,
Yeah.
I saw Trumbo as well. Finished that.
Okay, yeah. How was it?
It was okay.
Yeah, just okay.
Again, it's like McCarthy era.
So you went back to the cinema to watch the second half.
Yeah, after I did a poo, it came out
Yeah,
and finished it.
it's a good thing you've got that, or you can watch season ticket thing. You can just like.
You know what's really weird is that I'm currently, like, no one cares because no one listens to this, but I'm currently writing up ideas for the Cineworld Unlimited pass that you had.
What do you mean? What promotional ideas for it?
Yeah, of how they can work with like our people. Yeah. So it's really weird. That's what I've been working on this morning. And it's just really weird that you said that.
It's great. Is it still the same price as it used to be, or is it knowing?
I don't know.
Probably £1,000,000 now, but it used to be like £14.95.
Yeah, I think it's still the same.
Years ago, it was like £11.95 or something. But
yeah, I think it's £14.95.
That's pretty good, man. That is pretty good.
It's good, and this should be sponsored by Cineworld.
Yeah,
just for talking about it.
I watched Revenant and Cousin. Have you been to Cousin recently? They've got that.
My film was there.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the last time I went there. Was when the screening of your short film.
Yeah.
But I went the same one, the Soho again, to watch Revenant because I love that cinema. And there's that whole, is it "Don't Kill the Curzon" or "Save the Curzon" like campaign at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's loads of actors like saying lines from films with swear words in them, saying like "you fucking cunts," and then they're like just bleep. I don't think they bleep out the swear words, but they just blank them out. And yeah, it's weird. So it's the whole thing just saying like "fuck you, save the Curzon," but I didn't know it was even in any danger. I thought it was doing all right. There's like 6 of them now. But
man, I don't know. They're all in danger, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess.
Everything's
the big boys monopolize. Yeah, unless you're a massive rich corporation, then you're in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trumbo.
Trumbo. I was talking about something.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, classic piece of Oscar bait, I guess, and I suppose it's got a best actor nom. I mean, it's okay. Brian Cranston is okay as Trumbo.
Yeah.
It's about the commies and the blacklist and all this stuff. Louis C.K.'s in it as well.
Really? What does he do in it?
Yeah, he's one of the other communist writers, basically playing himself like he always does in everything, but in a good way. Not like that's a bad thing, but still.
Yeah. Does he play the same as, what was he in with Bradley Cooper?
American Hustle.
American Hustle.
Yeah.
Was it similar to that?
Literally exactly the same. No change.
Gotta love him though. You gotta love him.
Yeah, but I mean, it had a beginning, middle, and an end. I quite like the fact of like I genuinely didn't really know the story, so that was quite cool. Just knowing what happened, and I just like the fact of how to say it? It's like him in his lounge
Yeah,
watching himself win an Oscar that he can't actually receive, and things like that, and then like just getting the credit for it at the end. That kind of felt good because I generally like the idea of people kind of getting what they deserve in a good
yeah,
way at the end.
yeah.
Uh, which happens if you don't know, or if you do know, don't know. Um, yeah, it's all right, man. I mean, it's like John Goodman's in it as some like crazy producer, but it's all like a little bit cartoony.
Is
Like,
it really?
yeah, tiny bit.
Is it not that political then? Even though it has that whole like
Not really. I mean,
undercurrent going on
no, I
about.
mean, in a way, it's more about Trumbo
Mm,
and just him as a character
okay.
going through this more than it is about. I mean, it is to do about blacklisting, and
Yeah,
definitely that's like how he was kind of singled out and and what effect it had on him. Like the
yeah,
fact that he lives in this fucking massive, huge mansion or whatever, and then he has to go to like a normal house, and he's doing like a million scripts for like pennies just to kind of
really.
keep them coming in, and it doesn't have his name attached. At the
Yeah,
same time as writing like Roman Holiday and all this bollocks,
yeah.
um, which won an Oscar.
Which he
Yeah,
couldn't receive. Which he
which
could.
he couldn't receive. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all right. Don't know what to say
Yeah.
about it. Like you don't. It's not bad. It's not great. It's like it's all right.
Okay.
It's quite
Probably.
interesting. I wouldn't say don't watch it 'cause it's quite interesting. And also, like, there's a guy who plays Kirk Douglas, who actually looks and sounds a bit like Kirk Douglas.
Really. Okay.
Quite funny.
Are there a few like stars in it of the time, like Kirk Douglas
John
and
Wayne.
is he? Okay.
Um,
That's weird, isn't it, when
uh,
the films do that, like the Hollywood looking at Hollywood, as it was,
yeah,
and people
exactly.
playing big, movie stars and trying
Yeah,
to just get someone to look exactly like them. And go, don't say
yeah,
much because it will give it away, but just look like him.
yeah. The Kirk Douglas thing is that. Yeah, there's a couple of others, but I can't think of any.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's all right. No, I'm not saying it's bad. It's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll give it a watch one of these days.
yeah. What else did you watch?
Um, Not much, to be honest. I think that's it, really, for me. It was watching those three films this week. I wanted to make sure I watched three big hitters. So, yeah, nothing much else comes to mind. So I have to catch up on more TV things and some other films for next week, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on.
Go on.
I saw
My
Woody
guest.
Allen's I saw Woody Allen's An Irrational Man, which is
Okay.
with Joaquin Phoenix, and I really liked it.
Oh, really?
Um, I didn't like the end. The ending was awful, which is a real shame. But it's about Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, typically it's Woody Allen, so it's
Yeah.
always about these young, beautiful women
Yeah.
fancying these old, troubled men, which still gives me hope.
Yeah. I know, it's great, isn't it?
No, but it's like Joaquin Phoenix plays this like old philosophy guy who's like damaged goods,
Right.
and like everyone wants to fuck him and all this stuff, and he's all like philosophizing and he just hates life and all this stuff, and all that stuff is quite good and can be quite funny and whatever.
Hmm.
Emma Stone plays his
Yeah, Emma
like
Stone's in it, isn't she?
yeah, so she plays like his admirer, and she's pretty good in it. I mean, she kind of carries it a little bit. Joaquin Phoenix is also really good, and Germany as a pair, like, it's weird because you look at them and you think there's absolutely no way that she'd ever fancy him, but they're good enough actors that it doesn't. You can tell there's no natural spark. Put it that way.
But
But
is he dressed down and he's made to look older than he is?
yeah,
And
I mean, they've given him like he's got like a bit of a pot belly. He looks a
okay,
bit like sweaty and drunk and messy and
is he a
like
bit like Colin Farrell in Lobster kind of thing?
yeah, kind of. But Colin Farrell Lobster was like a bit more
Yeah, more
smart, dressed
unattractive.
up. Well, he's more like dressed up, like.
Oh
But
right, really? It's presented
Joaquin
even better.
Phoenix is like walks around with a hip flask and his shirt's
Yeah,
are like
like
untucked or whatever,
in
and it's
films
like
like that, do you think they should just get people who are unattractive to play those roles instead of getting attractive Hollywood stars to play roles
I mean,
like that?
Joaquin Phoenix isn't conventionally
No,
attractive.
he's not, but he's still like, how old is he now? 41. Oh, he's the same age as DiCaprio, isn't he? Um, I guess he's not. I kind of thought he was a bit more of a heartthrob than he is, but I don't know. Maybe he's gone over to that other side now.
The
It's no
other
longer there.
side.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, you don't look at him and think, oh, he's like
He's
he
not a
does
sex
look like
symbol, I guess, is he,
no,
really?
not at all. And he
Was
looks
he? Was he? No.
no. I mean, he
Not as
never
much.
really was. No, that's what I mean. That's
More
why
a
he looks
character
like
guy, isn't
yeah.
he?
And it was good, man. It's just basically him, kind of finding a new lease in life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just generally liked it from the idea of like being a depressive, alcoholic, philosophizing idiot who's like everybody fancies him for absolutely no reason, and yeah, and just this kind of story about kind of putting his philosophy theories into practice almost.
Yeah.
But it just kind of ends, and it's a bit like, okay, that was weird. Like they kind of ran out of money or something. Like not that, but I liked it, man. Like it's got good dialogue, good characters, like really nice, typical kind of modern Woody Allen scenes where
Yeah.
it just looks nice and it has a certain sheen to it, which he brings.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was all right. It's one of those things where I was like, I'm surprised there was no, for such a shit year of Oscars, like that there was literally no Oscar nom. But then I
No
was like,
mention
well,
of
who
this
would
at
it
all.
be for? Well, no, but
Well,
it's
yeah,
like
it's like,
Joaquin Phoenix, maybe. I mean, it wasn't that great.
yeah.
He was really good in it, but it's not
Plus,
as
you
if,
expect bigger things of him, don't you? I mean,
yeah,
Joaquin Phoenix at the Oscars, he's like set his bar so high
yeah,
that he's like has to do these huge, crazy performances, really,
yeah,
because you know what he's capable of, basically.
yeah,
It's funny, isn't it? You think some actors just have to do a Woody Allen film as like a rites of passage,
maybe.
especially up and coming young, attractive Hollywood actresses. 'Cause everyone does one at some point, don't they? So we've all got to do a Woody Allen at some point. Otherwise,
We're not real
we're not going
actors.
to be taken seriously. Yeah, we haven't made it until we've done a Woody Allen.
At least
But
he's
it's
not in it.
amazing, isn't it? Sorry.
Well, at least Woody Allen isn't in it anymore.
He's not in it at all. Yeah, okay. I mean, he is for me. He's been hit and miss. I've never been Woody Allen's like biggest fan. There's loads of stuff I haven't even seen of his because he's so prolific. I find it hard to even keep up. But it is amazing that he still churns them out, and they're not offensively bad at all. He's everything he does is usually watchable, whimsical, and easy. So it's amazing that he still still makes films at the rate he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose. Like, what else is he going to do?
Yeah.
So,
Well, retire. That's what else he could do.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, he's making a film a year. He averages at least a film a year.
Okay.
It's quite amazing, really. But yeah, I've barely seen this loads of stuff in the last 10 years of his I still haven't seen.
I was
Like
still
Blue
Woody Allen
Jasmine,
special.
Fading Gigolo, I didn't see.
Man, Blue Jasmine was really good.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
He is really good, and it's just like sounds stupid, but it's just dialogue and character. Like he's
Yeah,
just really good at it,
he's
and
still
also
good at it,
he's still good at just like creating what is essentially kind of like a simple story almost. I mean, Louis C.K. is in Blue Jasmine as well.
yeah.
That's pretty much himself.
Yeah. I mean, like he can pull together an amazing cast, can't he? He still can. But yeah, so it's quite impressive. So I might have to watch that actually.
Yeah, it's a good one. And the other film I watched, the last one, is Dear Zachary, which is a documentary about. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough film to watch, not because of the subject matter, but because it feels like it was. I mean, it's made by an amateur filmmaker, put it that way, and it feels it.
Right, it feels it. What's it about? What actually happens in it?
So his mate, this guy's mate, got killed. He was shot like 5 times.
Ouch.
And how? I mean, let me put it this way. I'm just going to tell you the story. Don't watch the film unless you want to. But if you're interested in the story and seeing some of the footage, then go for it. It's an old documentary, so I'm going to say spoilers.
You tell me, is it proper documentary?
Spoilers coming up. Yeah, kind of. I mean, but in that it's happened after the fact, and it's just photos and video material, and it goes on for way too long. But essentially, so this guy's mate, who looks like Jack Black, basically. They were mates when they were kids. and all this stuff, and they grew up being best mates. And there's loads of footage of him at weddings and like just being an idiot. And he was all like, he was a guy that everybody loved and all this stuff. Anyway, he got murdered, shot, and they found out that it was by his basically his psycho ex-girlfriend who was like 12 years older than him, and she already had like 3 kids or whatever.
Oh, that's weird.
So she was like 40 or something. He was like 28 when he died, and so anyway, she got away with it, even though the gun matched her gun, bullets matched her bullets. They picked up mobile phone calls that traveled all across America to and from, where she said she'd been at home the whole time on the other side of America, because they were doing a long distance thing at the time.
Okay.
And all this stuff, and literally, like, she crazy by the sounds of it, how she got away with it.
Sounds it.
But she did. And also, like, they put up a bail thing. She didn't even post the bail, but through some weird, basically, like, I'm good for it kind of excuse, she was able to walk the streets, and got away with it. Anyway, so the parents went crazy. Was like, I can't believe it. She fucking killed him.
Yeah.
She's got away with it. Like, completely walked scot-free. And all this stuff. And then lo and behold, like, after a couple of months, she's like, I'm pregnant with his kid. And they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So anyway, she goes, and as she's pregnant, they're still trying to fight for custody. The grandparents, this is, so the dead guy's parents, trying to fight for custody of their grandchild. And anyway, they go through this ridiculous process. The baby gets born. So anyway, she stops, she tries to let them see them as least as possible. Yeah. And she rings up and she's like, she's asking for money and all this stuff, like, the whole time, and they're just giving it to her, and they're just like, I can't believe, like, she killed our son. And
how is this unfolding? Like, in like interviews and recreations and stuff?
Yeah, through interviews and recorded phone calls.
Is it like a true crimes thing? Did she do it, or was it all just like, this is what happened? This is a crazy story.
The reason why it's called Dear Zachary is because Zachary is the baby's name. And so it started off that it was just going to be going around talking to people, to say to make a thing for his dad, so that he'd have something when he grew up to watch, and it'll be people talking about his dad. And so, but what it turned into, lo and behold, is because the mum went to prison for a little bit. I can't remember why. Maybe it was something to do with a case or something. And so the grandparents got to look after the kid for a little while. The mum would have to call every day, and she just, like, some of the conversations were just fucking weird and just horrible. And anyway, but to the point where the kid, who looks exactly like the guy that died, like, literally, it's definitely his kid, would, like, saw the grandmother more as a mum than the actual mum, and it all just got a bit weird. And she was seeing this bloke, and he was like, he got really annoyed because he found out that she got accused of murdering her ex-boyfriend, and she went a bit psycho on him. And so what she did is she killed herself and the baby and tried to pin it on this other ex-boyfriend.
Oh shit! So this is like 10 years of craziness. No, more.
Yeah. Well, it would have been about 3 or 4 years of craziness. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Oh, so the kid. Okay, so the kid looked like his dad, but he was still a kid.
Yeah, still, but literally, it was a baby. Like.
Right. Okay.
And so anyway, the grandparents are like, I can't believe it. Like, she's literally stolen our son and our grandson.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they were like, we're going to go against the law office, because when she came out, when she got released from prison, to do all this, they fucking said to her, oh, even though she didn't get accused of the crime of killing the guy, she still should be allowed on the streets, because even if she did do it, it was against one person, not the general public.
Wow.
And they're like,
that doesn't make sense.
What the hell? And they're like, is this a fucking joke? You can't say that. You can't just kill them on the streets after they've killed someone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay, because it was directed at one person and one person who was now dead.
Everybody else is okay. Oh, fucking hell.
So it's ridiculous, and that's basically the entire film.
Right. Okay.
But that's
like a first-time debut director or something, or amateur.
Yeah, man. He's just some guy with a camcorder.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like he's put a pretty interesting story together, though.
I mean, it is an interesting story. That's the thing. But like, the way he's done it and put it together is just, it's like, he's not a filmmaker, put it that way.
Right. Okay. This is on Netflix.
No.
Slash.
I don't know what
Yes.
it might be Netflix. Oh yeah, shit. And one thing I wasn't Netflix that I totally forgot about is I saw The Central Part 5, which is another documentary about these
Right.
that got done for killing and raping this woman in
Right.
Central.
Okay.
And they basically got completely coerced in the interview because they had been in the park, but they'd just been fucking about with like all these other kids.
Yeah. Yeah. What's it called? Central
Park 5,
Central Park 5. Okay.
like the Memphis 3 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, and it's just about interviews with them. It's actually quite boring. It's
Really?
like it's good story, and it's about them and about the kind of racial tension at the time, which
Yeah.
is still going on now. But it's
Oh,
like
is it 5 black kids?
yeah, but it's like here's some of the
No.
footage of them talking,
Right.
and they didn't do the crime, and then the DNA got solved, and they came out, and
Oh,
it really
okay.
affected them.
And it's a jogger, right? The female jogger.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
and you're
It was a big
okay.
case, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Massive
apparently
case.
at the time. Yeah, and that's it really. Did you see the new Suicide Squad trailer, by the way?
I did, yeah, yeah. It was good.
Man,
It's
I
cool.
was like, oh, I might actually like this. It looks a bit stupid, and
Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking actually, because I don't want it to be serious, and it does look quite silly. And the trailer was like really fun, so I haven't been that excited about it until I watched the trailer, and I thought, actually, you know what, it could actually be funny. So yeah, I don't know what to expect from it. I really don't. Whether it's going to be proper serious superhero stuff, dark, violent superhero stuff, or just camp and funny. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen?
well, it's going to have Ben Affleck as Batman in it, apparently.
Is he going to turn up in it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, I knew Batman
42
was going to be in
seconds.
it, but I thought, oh, is it going to be like a young Batman, or is it going to be the Batman now or something? But apparently, it's Ben Affleck, isn't it?
Oh man, why do they have to tie everything together? Come on,
Yeah, because they
guys.
want
You
to
know,
create their own Marvel universe, don't they?
I
They
know
want to
they.
do this.
Yeah, then do because they're going to do the whole like Justice League and all that crap, aren't they? But why do you have to make like why do so many films have to all go in the same direction to turn into a mega film?
Yeah.
You know, like why does it have to go that way? Because all these films are making so much money on their own. Is it like, oh, but the mega film at the end will change the world? The entire world will give us their money to watch.
Basically, the mega films make the real mega bucks.
But they're
Because
already
it's
making
like-
the mega films. The Avengers is, I guess, Avengers is a mega film, but
yeah.
the smaller parts of the mega film would make so much money anyway. How much money do you need?
Yeah, man, they're going to keep,
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, but when's it going to
going.
stop? When is it going to stop? All these phases, Marvel's phases. When's the last phase?
It'll stop when they make like Avengers 3 or something, and they
And it'll
spend
be shit, and everyone
like
hates
$1 billion. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's terrible. And then everyone's like, no
Like,
one wants to see it.
gigs
And they're
up.
like,
So yeah,
we've just lost $1 billion. We literally bet the whole studio on this because we thought it was a sure thing.
I know, but it's a shame though, because do you think the last couple of years that the Oscars, the standard of the films in the Oscars aren't quite what they used to be, or it feels like anyway?
Some of the films are terrible.
Yeah, especially this year. But do you think it is possibly a direct effect of all these massive, the studios putting so much more money into these huge superhero franchise films because they're guaranteed profits?
Yeah, definitely.
And not putting enough money into original scripts and original stories and adaptations and all this stuff that should be proper storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, by far, it's them looking to make a cheap buck.
Yeah.
And then when one pops up every now and then, which is actually really good and also commercially does really well, then they're like, oh my god, and they'll just latch onto that and hail that as a new thing.
Yeah, and then there'll be a million of them, and then not just a million sequels, but spin-offs and TV spin-offs and everything.
Yeah, cinema's boring, man. Like it's it'll be
Oh, man,
like
TV.
everything. Exactly, it all goes in circles. Like people are just not going to go.
Yeah, well, man, it's just things like Netflix. It's so funny, isn't it? Because I forgot that Netflix used to post DVDs through your letterbox, didn't it? And then you send it back. Remember? That was Netflix. I forgot. I completely forgot that was that was what they did before it was all online. So it's a pretty impressive jump for them to keep the brand going and jump into this whole new platform. But
well,
even
I think
then,
in America, I might be wrong, but in America, I think it was always online. That could be completely wrong.
really, no, I don't think it was, because I think heard what reminded me of it was somebody saying, like, in an American podcast or something, saying how, remember when you used to get the DVDs posted to you on
Oh,
Netflix?
okay.
Like, you'd choose on Netflix. I think
Yeah.
it was online as in the website. Yeah, you'd go, I want that, and then 2 days later it would turn up. I just forgot that was Netflix, and that's how it started. So it's quite cool that they've always been these like trailblazers doing it. But then now, I mean, obviously you're in the industry with like online content and stuff, but like on-demand content is amazing because I was listening to a podcast the other day about comedians, for example, who have their specials on Netflix.
Mm.
And it's such an important platform for comedians, stand-up comedians especially, because if you have it even on HBO, if you have your comedy special on TV, it will get played once at a certain hour on a certain channel, and if you miss it, it's going to be hard to see again. And then that's your ratings. That's what your that's what your success of this special is measured by. But on Netflix, they've got their algorithms of like, you should watch this if you like this, and you can watch it over and over and over and recommend it, and they'll watch it over and over. So it was stand-up comedians who just had a couple of specials on Netflix, and they were like, this is a game changer for us completely, because this is exposure that you just can't get with TV. And that alone is pretty cool. That's the power of on demand is finally coming to proper fruition, really, that you can just that you don't have something that just comes on and goes within the schedule on TV, but will be played over and over. So for a comedian, it's all about, it's their project, and that's wicked, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
exactly. It's going to be the way forward. I mean, I like the idea these days anyway, that it's like people, we're getting to a point where, I know it's not the same, but like there's enough technology now, like the woman who did Tangerine, which is all on like an iPhone. And that's like one lens of like, I've not seen it, but it's doing really well. Yeah. But just the fact that you can go out and do these great films, and you don't, it would just go back to the idea of just it being about story or something like that. Yeah. Just telling a good story. Yeah. And you can still have some production value, and maybe that will just go up as time goes up. And, maybe there'll be like a Netflix platform whereby they'll have like a particular channel or strand where it's like, short films or amateur films and stuff. Yeah, and you can just go like, just think, all right, I'm just going to watch some short films or whatever, or amateur films like back to back, which no studios released or anything like that. That's just perfect. That's funded in a way where it doesn't need the studio system.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd hope to think that the studio system would eventually become obsolete because production is becoming cheaper anyway, isn't it? With like cheaper cameras, lighting, equipment, even mobile phones. Anyone can make a film now. It's just about your imagination and stuff. But it's been like that for a while. People are saying, oh, with smartphones and digital cameras, everyone can make a film. But now not only everyone can make a film, everyone can make a film and show it to the world. You just need to be smart about it. But then again, the other side to it is what we've discussed before, all the crappy shit that goes online, the crappy content that people just basically just acting like idiots in front of cameras and then getting millions and millions of people to watch it. So it also has that side of things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which all too well about, So it's like there's amazing content that's out there, but then there's also celebration of like stuff that necessarily isn't necessarily as admirable, So it's like, there's it's just exploding, isn't it? It's crazy, really.
Yeah.
To think.
Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it progresses.
Yeah, it's cool because it's also something like Netflix. You could do a podcast just on Netflix stuff. What to watch on Netflix. Because you did your Sammy's Netflix rundown. You could literally do that like once a week.
Oh, yeah.
And because there's so much stuff on there that alone would be probably enough for people. We'd like to think that people would want to listen to just recommendations just purely on Netflix because it just gets bigger and bigger. Yeah. And then,
I should keep on my Netflix pick of the weeks, really.
I know, you should. Yeah, man, because more and more people just rely on Netflix as their sole like platform of entertainment. And obviously, like, got to celebrate cinema and go to the cinema and everything. But yeah, loads of people do. So many more people are just ditching TV purely for Netflix and Amazon TV and all that stuff. So you may as well just keep your Netflix stuff going.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say then Central Park 5. Watch that. Actually, no. What am I talking about? Do not watch that. Watch Deliver Us from Evil, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to watch now. Actually,
Yeah.
funnily enough, the one DiCaprio film that we didn't mention at all, Blood Diamond, is on TV in a minute. So I might actually
Is
watch
it?
it.
I like
Yeah,
Blood
I think
Diamond.
so. Yeah, yeah, I
I
think it's on this.
like it.
Right.
Okay, let's end it there. As always, you can contact us at suggipopcornteam@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at suggipopcorn. Is it just at suggipopcorn? You can also email us at email. You can go to the website, thewildboar.com. You can kind of do, whatever you want. Yeah, suggipopcorn is our Twitter. Send us emails. We didn't have any emails. Let me have just a quick look. I've got it on my phone here. Soggy Popcorn Team. Any emails? No. But we did.
Loads. Absolutely. Imagine if there were loads, hundreds that we hadn't addressed, and it's
Well,
like, right, okay.
there are hundreds, but they're all just saying that people following us on Twitter, which makes it sound like there's a lot of people following us, but it really isn't. So
No.
this goes out to Marie Cazalia, which is at Artozon, Twitter at Artozon, and it's fine art, contemporary art, tweeting what artists are doing, resource for artists, articles and arts and artists. So art, I guess. So there we go. She's got a free shout out, Marie.
That's our first sponsor.
Just for following us on Twitter and being at the top of the email list.
Acknowledging that we're alive.
Yeah, and it's not. It's a company.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah. Hopefully, we'll get one question one day again, because that's pretty exciting when that happens.
Yeah, man. Literally, just one question would just make me.
That's all it takes.
Feel really good.
I know.
Really good about myself. Why does no one want that to happen?
Anything, even if it's just more drunk stories, anything. What happened for breakfast? I don't care. It's just some attention, please.
Please, anything. Okay, thanks, guys, and we're good to go. So, see you next week, where we probably would have watched some more films.
Netflix. See ya.